So as always, we are learning Moreno Unit 5 for the Menucha of Moshe Montefiore and Sir Naim Dangur. We are continuing on page 12. Unit 5, we've learned so far about the melachot that you're allowed to do and that you're allowed to do during Shmita, what melachot are allowed, which are not. We're going to go into what is d'oraita, what is not, more specifically later on this evening. I want to focus on the distinction we made between ukme and avruya, right? Meaning there are two kinds of melachot. There are melachot that are done in order to maintain the current condition, and there are melachot that are done to enhance and create more growth. These distinctions are only relevant, presumably only relevant to melachot drabanan. We discussed briefly, maybe there's an option, right? You can see in one of the previous clips that are on YouTube. Melachot that are d'oraita could also be affected by that. That would depend on the question of why is there a distinction between enhancing growth and maintaining the current growth. One option is to say that Chazal aren't going to make us lose our field, right? Just like we don't have to uproot your entire garden or entire orchard or whatever before Shmita. So too, we don't expect all your trees to die, and then you have to start planting Motzei Shmita, everything anew. And that would be a drabanan kind of heter. Or is it not in the nature of Shmita, right? If the two main melachot, what are the two main melachot d'oraita? Right? So I'm not talking about Ketzira yet. Ketzira has its own categories. What? Zriya and Zmira, right? Planting and pruning, right? Planting and pruning, which are both very clearly there to enhance the growth. We're going to see more deeply about pruning later on this evening, but the pruning is there to enhance the growth. Planting is obviously there to enhance the growth. Anything it's not intended to enhance growth is simply not within the categories of what should be a malacha to begin with.
Why would plowing be part of that?
Plowing would be part of that, except you're ruining the rest of that's going to be the first question we're going to start in Unit 6 is plowing d'oraita or not? That's the first question you're going to ask. Unit 6, remind me. You don't need to because you'll see it's right there. If you have Unit 6 under that page, you'll see that that's the first question. Right? Very good. Well done. So that'd be the 3 P's, right? Plowing, planting, pruning. Right? It's 3 P's. Anyway. So we reached the question of Yofi over here, which is the question, what about maintaining the look of the tree, right? You want, for the classic example, let's see the Minchat Shlomo. Start from reading that and see where this goes. Mesupkani b'pirchei noi sheikar matara wa noi v'ayofi she'efshar she'im gozez v'zomer kedei lishmor al tzuratam d'chashivna mikukmei ilna v'shari. I have a rose garden, and I don't want the roses to grow too much. I don't want the bushes to go everywhere. I want them to be nice and neat. That's the whole point of the garden, right? Now, I'm not shearing them to enhance growth. I'm doing it to maintain a certain neatness, right? So again, hefsed, there's no hefsed here, right? Because if the bushes grow out, so next year you'll just cut the extra pieces off. I mean, this just won't look very good for half a year. So what? In terms of hefsed, in terms of loss, there's no financial loss from that. It's not like the bushes will die. Bushes will die, so water them some more. I'm not talking about that. Right? We're talking about just maintaining their shape. So in terms of right, that kind of maintenance. In terms of preservation, there's no preservation being done here. But in terms of enhancing growth, that doesn't exist either, right? So that the chor would depend on those 2 options. See in the Mishpatei Eretz on the next page. Hashem shetiru Chazal לעשות מלאכות דרבנן בצמחי מאכל כדי להציל את הצמחים או למנוע עיבוד הפירות, כך התירו לעשות מלאכות אלו בצמחי נוי. I'm skipping the parentheses for the time being. כדי למנוע מיתת צמחים או כדי למנוע פגם ניכר בנוים של הצמחים באופן שלא יוכלו להמשיך לשמש ליהודם המקורי. אמנם אם הקלקול בנוי הצמחים הוא לשנת שמיטה בלבד, ניתן להשיב את בנוי הצמחים לקדמותו לאחר שמיטה ללא הוצאה מרובה. Meaning, so your rose garden won't look very good on Shmita. And people would say, yeah, it's Shmita. You see, we're from. Good, right? That's a good thing. It's nothing to be embarrassed of. Right? So it won't look nice. So there's no financial loss, so it's a justification to do the melacha. יש אומרים במקרה של צורך גדול אפשר להחשיב גם נזק זמני בנוי צמחים לנזק. בגלל שקלקול העינוי בולט ביותר והחנות בזה תבוא עליו ברכה. I mean, broadly speaking, you could find some kind of loss that would be right if you don't take care of it for a whole year. You'd have to spend a lot of money to bring it back to what it was. Beseder, but generally speaking, they're going in a very clear direction that says the issue at hand. Is financial loss. If there's no financial loss, there's no justification to start shearing things. So, but Mishnat Yosef, he disagrees. He לכל צמח תפקיד משלו. שיחי נוי לתת יופי ונועם. אם כן, כמו שבעצי הפרי, במידה ולא ימלאו את תפקידם, מותר לגוזמם לקיום הפרי, כך גדר החיה, באם לא נגזום, לא תמלא את תפקידה. So he says an amazing thing, right? Page 5. You have 5? Are we missing copies? Oh, so we're on page 13. On page 13. So he's saying the Kundras Shminit Lamasa, I don't know who wrote that, but he says you need to allow the trees to fulfill their natural role. And what is a rose bush's natural role? To be pretty. That's the point, right? To look nice. If it doesn't look nice, what's the point of the rose bush, right? Right? That's locum. Right, and that would be called locum. Now, you don't like that. He's also all right. I mean, obviously, if you say that the issue is financial loss, obviously it doesn't begin, right? That this tiny doesn't work, right? But yeah, ukme means to allow it to maintain its role. Okay, good. So see what he calls it in a moment. Mistake ובצדק. מיוחל על יסוד סברות קרס כאלה להתיר מלאכות בשביעית. שאם חז"ל התירו אוקמי, הרי זה פשוטו כמשמעו, לקיים את האילן. לאוקמי את הנוי, זה לא שמענו. And then he says what I said before, אדרבה, שנת שמיטה זהו הנוי, שלא יהיה מעובד. But you can show off and say, look, you see, I'm doing things right. אפילו נקבל את הסברה, סברת הקרס, להלכה, בכל שאין פעולת תיקון אילן, הרי זה מותרת, מכל מקום שייכת סברה זו רק לגבי סילוק הזק שאין לו שייכות עם תיקון האילן. סילוק כיעור הנוי, הרי הוא תקנה לצמח עצמו, ששם כך הוא נשתל. סילוק כיעור הנוי, I think it means getting rid of... What? Right. So when you mow your lawn, why are you mowing your lawn? I know we're in Israel. No one mows their lawn. No one has a lawn. But if you had back in Canada when you had a lawn, right? Why? To make it look nice, to get rid of. Right. To make it look nice and neat, right? You get rid of that extra part that you're not interested in, right? Sorry? That's the ki'ul. The ki'ul is those bad blades, the problematic ones. The ones that are, it's a haircut, exactly. It's a haircut. That's what we're talking about. Right. Is a haircut, that kind of right there. Yeah, so, but the point is that when it comes to, so the interesting thing about grass is that if you start pruning other things, or if I'm differentiating, I invented this distinction between pruning that would be to maintain. In Hebrew, you saw the Braita, there are 16 different words for cutting branches, leaves, right?
The edge.
Okay, beseder. So I'm inventing that, right, shearing would just be using shears for anything else. It's not pruning, which is there to enhance the growth. I don't know if that's a true English distinction, just for the purpose of this shear, I'm using that. Now, I know, but I just need another word. Now,
area.
oh, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. We're going to skip to that part, and we're not going to start from plowing unit 6. We're going to skip to that in a moment. So have a look at, yeah, the Brits are strange like that. Anyway, sorry. So when it comes to tree, if you have a vine, so you might say, well, am I cutting it to save the vine? Am I cutting it to enhance growth, or am I cutting it for the wood, or am I cutting it for, right? All these different options. When it comes to grass, I'll never say, you know what, if I need to cut it anyway, right? So when it comes to a vine, you'll cut it. You say, im kvar, I need the wood. I might as well cut it in such a way that will also enhance the growth, right? And then we'll have to start discussing psicration, which we will, by the way, right? Of course, it's psicration, right? You're doing that for a different purpose, but you're also having a good outcome Shmita-wise, right? Agriculture, etc. But what about, but when it comes to grass, that never happens. No one cuts the grass in order to enhance the growth. Now, before I finish that sentence, you're all jumping. Why? Because that's not true the first few months of the grass's life, generally speaking, or if the grass starts dying, right? If the
That's one of the reasons why we cut it, is so that not only does it look nice, but also that the areas that,
haven't yet.
yeah,
Right. So that would be correct. And this is actually something we touched on. I said Balpad, I'm not even sure I put on the pages at that point.
We don't bag it, at least in the States, we don't bag it anymore. We just let it go on top of the grass, so it provides nutrients.
Oh, interesting.
Or it's not called
So we said one of the things when we talked about coming into Shmita, pre-Shmita, right? We weren't allowed to plant things, we weren't allowed, right, depending on how close you were to Shmita. Grass specifically is something that we said. I think I said Bape, it's in the guide to gardening. What? So you saw I wrote that. What? Right. Not that you can't. That's planting the grass. I think we said 2 months was what the person I talked to, the botanist. I think 2 months before, it would be like one of those lifnei iver situations where you're going to cause yourself to have to mow the lawn in order to enhance the growth. So you shouldn't plant in those 2 months before, because either it'll die, it won't spread well, and then you won't be able to mow it, and it becomes a mess. It's not, you're not going to want to do that. It's not, either you keep the halacha or you're just wasting your money. So either way, it's right. Either you're going to go against halacha or you wasted your money. So either way, it's no good options there. Anyway, let's see now. Let's see that brighter again. See on page 13 later on. In the Gemara Moed Katan Daf Gimel. Tanya, Sedchalot Yizrak al Mechalot Yizmor. Ein lira zirua v'zimur. Minayin lenikush idur v'kisuach. So idur has more to do with moving the ground, not exactly plowing, but we'll talk about that later. Nikush and kisuach and zmira are all different words for cutting branches. So for different purposes, right? See, Rashi over here writes, kisuach, what is kisuach? Be'asavim shechotech harei min hatovim. Now, that's not exactly what we're talking about, right? Rashi's talking about getting rid of the bad weeds and leaving the good grass or good weeds, right? We're talking about giving the grass a haircut, right? That's a slightly
He doesn't say uproot. He says cut.
Nachon, and still, even so, cutting the bad weeds, right? I said uproot. You're right. It's cutting the bad weeds. But Rashi's distinction, the differentiate between not the parts of one. Nikush, Nikush is uprooting. I'm talking about kisuach right now. Yeah. So kisuach, Rashi, kisuach, basavim, right? Kisuach is when you cut. So Nikush is uprooting, and kisuach is cutting. But either way, it would be. My point here was that Rashi's talking about getting rid of the bad weeds, not cutting the part of the grass that you're not interested in having because you're giving it a haircut, which is a very long way of saying mowing the lawn. Okay. Now we're going to have to go deeper into the whole psikresha thing later on, but first let's just see Rav Rimon's psak over here, right? Top of page, I jumped. No, like when that happens. Top of page 14. לדעת מומחים בדשא, הקציצה אינו מועיל, אוקיי, לגידול הצמח, וגם אינו מתכוון לגידול הצמח. להפך, שלא יגדל, לכן קוצץ, זה גמור שכוונתו לנוי, ואין אני רואה מקום לאסור. There's a Rav Sternbuch already. Sorry, this is not Rav Rimon. There's also a Rav Rimon quote, but I did not bring it here. I guess not. But this is a Rav Sternbuch. What? What?
I can't find a way to ask it.
Right. That sounds more that right. That sounds more like Rav Sternbuch then.